Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life of Love. I'm Adam,
I'm Steph.
and we are still in love.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to the show, everyone. This is episode 5.
Yep.
5 shows already. Wow. Thank you, everyone, for all your support and for everyone who's listening and watching us on YouTube. Again, we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So if you guys are on any of those platforms, please check us out. Give us a follow, give us a like, and let us know what you guys think of the show.
Yeah.
This week, we're going to do a little Would You Rather. So we're going to run through some scenarios and talk about, things that, would you rather do one thing or the other? But I think we'll also just reflect back on, let's think about when the time came.
When it was us.
When the time came for us. There's some questions about like marriage and kids and stuff. So you think about, we'll talk about when we were younger, in that moment, and then what we would do maybe differently now if we had the choice. So let's start off with the first question there.
Would you rather have a big wedding or elope?
So
What do you think?
for me, I liked our wedding. I think our wedding was really good. We had it at the Portuguese Club here in Kitchener.
Yeah.
And of course, you're of Portuguese origin,
It was
descent.
a lot of people.
The 200 plus people there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we didn't know most of the people. We had lots of our friends and cousins and family, and everyone, of course, everyone we're close with. And then
Yeah.
being from a Portuguese family, you guys have lots of cousins and cousins of cousins that always come out to these things.
Yeah.
So for me, back then, I thought it was a lot. Obviously, the cost of everything. We were lucky we had our parents supporting us.
Mm-hmm.
Now I probably wouldn't go as big, but I don't have any regrets on the wedding.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
If I could change one thing, like I always wanted a destination wedding. Like that was my thing. Like I was very set on having a destination wedding. So to pivot to the traditional like church wedding, then you go take your pictures, then go to a reception hall. It wasn't really what I wanted, but we had the support of my parents who really wanted us to do that and said that they would, give a significant chunk of money towards it. So that was my deciding factor on having the big wedding. If I had to do it all over again, I would 100% either elope or do a destination wedding. I even tell people to this day, like, man, don't even do it here. Just go somewhere hot, go on the beach, go, like, it doesn't even have to be on a beach, right? Like, just go somewhere warm, just have a small knit of people there, and that's it.
One thing I loved about our wedding, we had a really good photographer. We had two
Yeah.
photographers, and like just some of the pictures that we have from it.
It was just candid, like
Yeah,
candid.
yeah. So such classic pictures. Like there's like your brother and your cousin pulling them in the wagon.
Yeah.
They're like
Smoking a cigar.
smoking cigars while the one's pulling the other guy in a wagon. And I think there's some other pictures too where we're like serious, and then like everyone's goofing off in the background. So,
Yeah.
a lot of good memories from the day, and people. I mean, for months afterwards, like people would still talk about how good the wedding was.
Yeah, I hear it to this day, right?
We did like the evolution of dance for a wedding party thing, so it was just kind of a fun
for
night.
a wedding party dance.
And the guys at the Portuguese Club were really good. They came out with like
sparklers,
and Hawaiian shirts on for like dessert time. So
yeah,
it was a really good show.
It was a fun wedding, and we did hear a lot of like great things from our wedding, which is what I wanted. Like if I was going to have a wedding here, I was, it's the one day you have, like I'm only going to do this once. Like let's do all the things that I'm going to want to do. Like we had a candy bar. We had our dances and stuff, right? Our wedding cake was Mario and Peach, right? So
yeah. All right, next question.
Next question. Would you rather have an elaborate wedding or a no expense spared honeymoon? It's a given for me. It's the honeymoon, like 100%.
Although for us, we didn't. I mean, we had a big wedding, and I mean, we went to a fancy Rio resort in in
5-star all inclusive.
Mexican.
I wouldn't say
So,
that's no
I mean,
expense spared.
it's different now. So, yeah, for sure. If I'm thinking back now, because of where we've traveled so far in the world, like I would pick an exotic
Yeah,
place.
something like what we did in England, where we went on tours and stuff.
Yeah,
like
so you probably go to somewhere
Yeah.
maybe
like a 3-week type of like European.
go to Greece
tour.
or Italy or
Yes,
something
yes.
that's more exotic than going to like England and stuff.
Yeah.
which is cool, but yeah, when you think of like the like romantic getaway thing. So yeah, I agree. I didn't I don't have any regrets or thinking like, oh, it sucked the way we did things, but
no.
for sure if I would spend less money on, and I don't think people would even notice, right? Like if you, let's say we just had a big wedding at, you just rented out a community center or something, and we still had like a big dinner and all this stuff, and you could have the same amount, but scale it down so it's not as fancy. Then of course you can have more money saved. And there's ways, like we were lucky. Our stag and doe pretty much paid for our honeymoon
And stuff, and
so we were
then
lucky
some,
that
right?
way.
Yeah.
So fortunately we had a lot of support from people.
Yep, I agree.
Next question.
So what was your answer there?
Yeah, I would do it. Well, yeah, I would spend less on a wedding for sure, and then spend more on.
Would you rather have kids or travel the world? Well, that's kind of a silly question. We already have kids.
Just thinking back when. I mean, that was our plan too, right? That was our plan.
Yeah, we wanted to have kids, and whoops.
We were gonna still live at home.
Yeah.
And but then we ended up buying our first house. We got a good deal, new neighborhood that was being built, and we had the money. Fortunately, we had the money to put a down payment on it. And it was like $1,000 down to start, and then you had to give like $10,000 within, I think, the first month, and then after that, you didn't have to give any more money for like a year. So anyways, it worked out in the end. Doing what we did, and of course now we've got our kids, and we traveled. We travel more than most
when
people.
We can.
We travel more than I think most people. We were fortunate. Last year we went to England without the kids. Then we went to the Azores.
But that was a special.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
It was our 15.
It was our 15-year. Yeah. Like every 5 years are big milestone ones. I always, just so everyone knows, I like to go to somewhere big, just us. So for 10 years we went to Paris, France, and we did Paris there, and we did there's a Disney World there, so we went there as well. For 15 we went to England, but we did it on our 16th year, and then for 20 we're gonna do something, 25, etc., and stuff. So yeah. I don't know, I lost my train of thought. So where were you? The kids or the traveling?
Well, back then, if I would have just changed it where we did more together before having kids. But
c'est la vie.
It all worked out.
Yep. Would you rather visit a museum or attend a concert? Depends the concert, and I'm not really a museum kind of girl, so I'm gonna say concert. Like, I thoroughly enjoy seeing people perform. Right.
We've gone to a lot of concerts over the years together. We're lucky because we're an hour to Toronto, so we get lots of opportunities to go see big acts. For me now, when I first read that thing, I was thinking, as a younger person, for sure, going to concerts or stuff like that. Now though, I like learning the history. Going to England was cool, going to all the like the castles and stuff, and even when we toured around the one museum there, like I could spend hours there just reading little blurbs on different
I guess
events.
I should rephrase that. So I like going to a museum when I have someone explaining things. Right? Like, that's my kind of learning. Like, when we went to England, it was a guided tour, and we got all the history and et cetera, et cetera. That was fantastic. But if I had to tour it on my own, I'm gonna choose the concert, 100%. All right. Would you rather spend time with family or friends? Um, I'd rather spend time with you. Like if I'm being honest, uh, I guess I would say family
Yeah.
because it friends may come and go, but your family is just always there, right?
Yeah, I was lucky where like I have a cousin who's a year younger than me. My sister was a year older than me. And then my brother and sister then came along, and then younger cousins as well. So we
Yeah,
always had, um, we were always going to see family.
yeah,
And then when I met you, we talked about this, I think, on last week's episode. You have such a big family, and everybody's so close to each other here, like within
yeah.
5 minutes, 10 minutes of each other.
Hmm.
So we just always hung out
With
family,
family,
like
yeah,
every weekend,
yeah.
and yeah. So yeah, for sure, family. Um, well, we were lucky, like you said, we're lucky, and same with you. You've got cousins that are close in age to you. So I mean, yeah, we just hang out with family, and yeah, we like all our family, so we're lucky that way.
I guess that helps, right? Would you rather live in a big house in the middle of nowhere, or in a studio apartment in a bustling city? Uh, no question, there, big house, middle of nowhere.
I this is an interesting thing because our first house was a good size, bought a
Yeah.
little bit bigger. Now our house now is actually too big, where we are, and I mean we're in town but not downtown.
Yeah.
And I used to always think that I wanted a house with a big yard and all that
Until you had to cut
until they
grass.
cut grass. Our last house, that grass, because we laid all new sod,
Yeah.
that grass was a nightmare. It's like every week it'd be 6 inches long, and there was all these like walkways, and I built a deck down the middle of the backyard, so you couldn't
Yeah.
easily get the lawnmower from one side to the other.
Yep.
And now our house, we have all concrete, a pool, and a hill in our backyard that's all full of weeds, and
And
rocks.
the grass in the front doesn't
And the
really
grass in
grow.
the front doesn't grow, so it's great. It's all sand around here, so the grass doesn't grow. So I get to cut the lawn like 3 times. So, and we're talking about that now, about in a year or two from now, when our kids move to a different school, and
Yeah.
then 3 years from now they're in high school. So,
Our little area
our area of
of moving is
is growing,
great has grown,
and
right?
so now all of a sudden I'm thinking, what would I rather have?
Yeah.
And yeah, I would rather have. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a big house, but a good sized house, like just on the outskirts of
Mhm.
town,
Mhm.
like a big barn dominium style house, where
Yeah.
it's just like you have your big center party area, but then just off, you've got, let's say, 4 bedrooms off of that living space. And then yeah, we can just have our own private area. And I mean, that's pretty much how we're living now. The kids got desks in their room, like all their 3 bedrooms are right next to each other, and they just go from bedroom to bedroom playing with
Yes.
each other. We hardly ever use our ground floor aside from our kitchen. We
Yeah.
got a nice big kitchen there. And yeah, like you've got a desk set up in our bedroom.
Yeah.
We got a TV up there, so we chill out there at night. I've got an office area in the basement where we made an extra bedroom just to use the space. And then we have this giant basement that nobody uses.
No
We
one
ever use it
uses.
maybe once every other week.
Yeah.
The kids have friends over and they watch something. But
And I think that's the beauty. Like as the kids get older, you kind of realize, I don't need this big house anymore. Like when they were little, this was great because everyone could go on each kind of floor and no one really bugged each
the
other.
basement was just a kid's toy, so it didn't matter how messy it was.
Exactly. So it was great, but they are getting older, and stuff. So you kind of look at things and go, I don't really need this big house anymore. If we sort of like downsize to something that's a little bit smaller,
And
then that can give us
and we
a
think
couple
about,
trips
well,
a
that's what I
year.
was just gonna say. That's exactly it. So what are we doing, right? We're paying to heat a big house.
Yeah.
Electricity obviously is more because all the rooms are bigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just basically have space to store stuff
Yeah.
that you're not using. So yeah, it's very interesting when your mindset changes to that. Now I'm thinking, yeah.
If we do end up moving, I will say like there are certain requirements I think like that we need to keep in mind, as anyone should. Like you should have your wish list and you should try and get everything on that wish list when you're getting a house and stuff. But yeah, I would definitely do big house in the middle of nowhere versus a studio in a bustling city. I hate downtown. I hate driving there. It's just too busy. The one-way roads just confuse me. I don't get it. So
The one thing I would say is, if though you could find, like I think I talked about, if you could find like the right condo building with the right amenities that you never have to leave.
True.
You never have to truly
Yeah.
leave. It's not so bad when you think about some of these buildings that got indoor pools and lounges and gaming rooms and gyms. Yeah. You think about like the cost that we have to maintain our pool, the price to go to the gym.
Yep.
You got to do all the lawn care. Yeah. All of a sudden, it doesn't sound so bad to.
I totally see that point, but it says studio, so studio. Yeah, I'm like, where's our family? Where's our family fitting in here, right? Like, so I have nothing against like getting a condo, but it needs to be big enough that all of us could live comfortably in it. Yeah. And whatnot.
All right.
Would you rather have a large group of friends but no best friend, or only have a best friend? I know my answer. What do you think?
Yeah, I like being at work around people, but when I come home, I just like to be by myself. I'm sure you're probably the same way. Just because you're just in it's so chaotic at work, like working in construction. You go to our office, it's busy. When you go on site, super busy, obviously. Mm-hmm. And at some point you just gotta just relax and be away from all the busyness.
Mine would be definitely only have a best friend. For me, it's quality over quantity. I like to keep my circle very, very, very small, and I allow who I want in that circle, and who I don't want stays out of that circle. And that just kind of protects, me, my interests, my peace. So 100% only have a best friend. Yeah. Less is more. Less is more. All right. Would you rather stay in for every date night or go out for every date night? That's a good one. I want to hear your answer first.
I would say so again, when I first saw this one, I was like, you know what? We went out lots when you're younger, but that's kind of just what you do. And we kind of had...
we had no responsibilities.
And there was a period where I liked staying in, but now I'm like constantly looking like what's coming out, what movies are coming out, when is the local theaters here going to have live shows again? When is this night? And then it's like, oh shoot, of course now the kids' sports get in the way. Some great events to do Friday night, but our kids got soccer. Mm-hmm. And not expensive either, just nice local events. You can do like paint nights, and there's like wine tasting nights and musical acts at local bars and clubs, and comedy nights. We've done a bunch of those local comedy nights that people put on. They're cheap, like $20, I think, a ticket, and they usually have them at a restaurant too. And then you get some food, and that goes back to what we were talking about last week about quality time as well. And like I said, that's where I can see myself shifting towards wanting to do more of that, and like we said, wanting to experience more in life.
I would agree. Like, I'd rather go out for every date night just because you get to see what's around you. Maybe you didn't know certain things were being held, and you go to these events and stuff and you have a really good time, right? So I would definitely do the going out every night. And plus, I feel like it is more of that quality time, and you get to do something that is outside of the house, because we get into a routine once we're in the house. And if you stay in for every date night, the likelihood of you doing the exact same thing every single week or every single date night, it increases, right? Whereas if you say like, okay, this week we're going to go to the movies, next week or next month we're going to go do paint and sip, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like if you were to stay in, it becomes very monotonous and stuff. So, yeah, definitely going out for every date night. Plus, you could probably support local that way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
And if
support
you're
local.
someone who wants to either grow a business, so if you're like a realtor or a business owner or something like that, right? Great way to network with people. If you're, you know, you want to get into social media or anything like that, again, you document your journey.
Document your journey.
What you're doing.
You could get like a free stay or like
never know.
for hotels and stuff. Yeah. Would you rather do the cooking or the cleanup every day forever? Ooh. What happens if you don't do either? I'd rather do the cooking. I really detest cleaning up. I don't know.
I'd rather do the cleanup. So there you go. You know, the worst thing I think is when you're doing like something big, like either like a roast or a turkey's the biggest one, where it's like,
look at all the stuff.
You start at like 8 a.m. and then it's like 8 p.m. by the time you're done, and you can't really do much because the thing's just cooking there, and there's all this prep stuff in between. So yeah, when you do a big meal like that, where afterwards, when I could just, you know, put a YouTube video on or listen to a podcast, and then even if it takes an hour to clean up, it doesn't matter because I'm when you're doing the prep, you can kind of do that too, but it's a little more hectic when you're doing the prep. So
good to know. Would you rather be a stay-at-home parent or a working parent? I think it depends at what stage of parenting I'm being asked this. When they were little, I would have rather have been a working parent because I feel like that's the easy way out. Now that they're a little bit older, I'm like, hey, I could totally rock this stay-at-home parent thing and stuff. But I feel like, you know, I'm in the middle. Like, I'd rather do both. Like, working the part-time, you know, you do get a taste of being home a couple days and then you are a working parent. So I think a little bit of both right now in our stage of life is working best. What do you think?
I would rather be a stay-at-home parent all day long. You know, I liked baking and cooking. And I don't mind cleaning either. So, yeah, if I could, yeah, I'd be a stay-at-home.
If I was the breadwinner, you would be the stay-home.
All day long.
Oh, man. Would you rather change the past or predict the future? Predict the future.
Yeah, when I first saw this one, I wouldn't change the past because that got us to where we are,
and that made us who we are, right? Like without those experiences.
I know it's a cliche thing to say, but yeah, it's true in that. Whatever had to happen for us to be in this location.
Yep.
And position in life where we are with the kids we have and the family we have around us. So, I know there's a lot of people that may think differently, you know, if they, you know, lost a loved one that they wish they could be around more. And yeah, I'm totally empathetic towards that. But for me, I would say I don't even need to predict the future either. I wouldn't want to change the past because that made us who we are.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Let's see here. Would you rather outlive your partner or have your partner outlive you? I would rather have you outlive me. So if we can make that work, that'd be great. No, I will tell you why. It's because I do not think I have the capabilities to move on without you. Like, you do so much that I'd be like, what do I do now? What do I do now? How do I do this? Right? Like, I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I would say the same. Me outlive you. So there you
go. Would you rather give up caffeine or alcohol?
Yeah, for me, it's I don't have an addiction to either one, so it's not a big thing. I went years without drinking any coffee, and even then, like, I don't need it if I don't. Yeah, So it's no big thing for me either way. But sure, alcohol. I would give up more. At least you can drive a car with caffeine. So
I think there's a lot of coffee shops that could turn into really nice like date days or whatever, or date, whatevers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would rather give up alcohol 100%. I need my caffeine. Would you rather be infamous or forgotten completely after you die? Yeah, I guess for me, I'm okay with being forgotten about.
Yeah. For me, I don't need to have a legacy of knowing that I was, the greatest, whatever.
Yeah.
So I have no problem. Yep. I mean, hopefully throughout your life you touched enough people and spread some knowledge so that they continue actually living on, you know, through you, like you live on through them. But yeah, I don't need to have the notoriety where someone says, this is my, I trained him, or I created that. I'm responsible for that. Yeah. I don't have any desire to need to take that recognition.
Yep. I agree. Would you rather never age mentally or physically? For me, is mentally, because I could still do a lot of things. If I still wasn't physically able to, there's still a lot of things I could do and still have my mental capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say physically. I just like being active. I like doing things. So for as long as possible, I want to be able to.
Yeah, I could see that for you.
To do that. So, and hopefully staying physically active longer, it actually prolongs, your ability mentally.
Yep.
It kind of helps offset that.
Yeah. Would you rather be 25 or 45 forever?
Yeah.
45.
Yeah. For me, 45 as well. Just having that knowledge of that extra 20 years of knowledge.
Yeah. I agree.
And understanding, and we're in a good place.
Yeah, you kind of see the world different at 25 versus 45. And I think seeing the world at 45 is a more accurate view than at 25.
Yeah, and
stuff.
Yeah, so. I just feel like, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, like, we're turning 40 this year. So I just feel like, I'm just approaching like my peak level right now. So, having all that extra experience, I think is worth it. And I don't think that I was better off at 25 than I am right now at 39. Mm-hmm. So I just imagine like putting in that extra effort for the next 5 years, like where will I be at? Because I have all that experience and all that knowledge that I've gained. And wisdom that you get. So I think 45 for sure.
Yeah. Would you rather die in 25 years with no regrets or live another 50 but have many regrets? I'm the 25 with no regrets.
Yeah. I would live longer with regrets. I have regrets for the past 25 years or whatever. I live with it. The good thing is though that you can always grow and gain something, gain some experience.
You can always pivot, right? You can always pivot.
Even though you're going to be filled with a bunch of regrets, but how many of those regrets of you not taking action, you see something happen that allowed you to take action? So for me, I'd rather live longer just to experience life.
I'd rather have no regrets and be able to have that peace of mind, at least for me. All right, last question here. Would you rather have more money or more time? More time.
Yeah, time for sure. Time for sure. And we talked about this in the beginning about, big house, small house, all this stuff. There's a lot of time we lost, and especially me working, full time for all these years. Time you miss out on, your kids growing up, experiencing life. going on vacations, not like fancy vacations, but like taking time, going to the beach. And you're just working constantly.
It's the little things,
and
right?
always
It's
in
the
that
little
grind
things,
and always looking for money. There's a great quote. It was, like you've reached goals. You already said we're going to make you happy. And when all you're doing is chasing more money, you'll never be happy because you always need more of it.
Yeah, you're constantly moving that. You
can never be happy. And then the worst thing is once you reach that money, it's not the answer.
Yeah.
Like you got that promotion, you got that big raise this year. And now what? And now you're like, I need a bigger house. I need a bigger car. I want to go on a fancier trip, but I can only go on one fancy trip, every once a year, maybe once every 2 years, as opposed to just living a nice, simple life. And like every weekend, like we were so lucky growing up that my parents worked hard, but we had a trailer to go to. And we went on some good vacations to Florida every couple of years. We'd go to Florida, and sometimes we'd go out to like Nova Scotia. My dad had an aunt out there. We go out to Alberta. But we weren't like high-end luxury, like 5-star. Like my parents had a trailer, and we pulled the trailer, a tent trailer. We had a tent trailer for a while, and then my parents had like a 20-foot trailer that they pulled. Yeah. Kids stacked on top of each other on bunk beds. But such good times back then, and it's not a lot of money, and I mean that's my greatest memories are just hanging out at the beach as a kid, and friends you get up there, and the experiences that you have with your family. Again, talking about would you rather be with family or friends? Like we had such such good times growing up, and chasing that money, and it sucks when you realize that, you wasted your time chasing money when you could have worked less and actually had more.
It kind of ties back to that 25 versus 45 forever. When you're young, you have this certain visualization what your life should be according to what people around you are doing. So you think like, oh, this is what I have to do. I have to get married, get that house, start having kids. And in reality, it's not necessarily the best, it's probably not in your best interest. But yeah, for me, I would do more time for sure. Because as the saying goes, more money, more problems. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Get a bigger house, more things break on it.
Yeah.
You get fancier cars, there's more things that break on it.
Yeah. So if you had to do our story of, how we got married up until this point now, would you change anything, or would you pivot into another direction? Like, would you still want to get that first house that we did, or would you change that idea of what you wanted at that time and to go to something that was more like a fixer-upper, that was on the small side, something that we could grow into, but it was a little bit older?
I was for our first house, for sure I would have bought something that was older. Like we bought brand new. Now there was money to be made on that house.
Yeah,
and
pros and
got
cons,
us to where
right?
we were.
Yeah.
But I think about like some of the houses we did look at back then, and what I would want now. That I would have went with like an older house that maybe had like that 2-car garage and that old basement. And we could have grown into it. Whereas like we bought our first house, was a small 3-bedroom, and then we had our first kid, we were having our second kid, and then we're like, oh, we're already full. And moved into another house. But all in all, the thing is, if you didn't have that experience of where we are, then we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
True.
On a podcast talking to each other. Right? I mean, who knows where we'd be? We might be chilling on the beach somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
But you can't. And I did, like, I remember our last house, we sold it for like $500,000, and then the neighbor's house a couple years ago sells for $1 million, just the way that. But like, you can't think about like, oh, what if I kept that? Because you didn't, and you wouldn't be where you are right now if you did keep it.
Yeah. So, I don't think in that sense. I think like, had we done things a little bit differently, our life would still look like this, but we, it's the extra things that may have made life easier. Like, had we gone for not a new build and like an old, crappy house that needed to be fixed top to bottom, but you got it at a really decent price, and you kind of just live and work through the renovations of getting that to up to your standards. um, I think had we gone that route, we may have fallen in love with that old dilapidated house and just stayed there, right? And thinking about it, we'd probably be paying off that mortgage quite soon, and that would just be opening up so many more doors in our 40s, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I always think about is like, how do we just make, little pivots here and there, you know, maybe our home life balance or work life balance would look differently. But then again, what we've done up until this point has gotten us to here. So I think, we got to be proud of that and whatnot. But it's always nice to reflect and be like, oh, if I had to do it again, maybe I would have gone down this road versus this road.
And that's the beauty we can talk about, leaving like that lasting impression. That's knowledge we can now pass on to our kids to say, hey, listen.
Learn from us, right?
Yeah, learn from us, and then hopefully, that helps you out in the
I
future.
do that with our oldest, with high school and, courses and whatnot. And, I'm like, learn from me. I wasn't the greatest student, but learn from me. I was your age once. If you just put the effort and time into it, you're going to get those grades, and you're not going to have to go to summer school, and you're not going to have to, repeat this again. Learn from me type of thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's good to see everyone's perspective, It's good to talk about our perspectives, right? And I think that, that help builds the foundation that, our relationship sits on and stuff, right?
For sure. All right, so with that, we're going to wrap it up for this week.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this show.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Give us a follow. Again, we're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Let us know your thoughts. If you guys get any comments or questions or things you want us to talk about, let us know. But with that, we will say see you next week.
All right, bye.